Hi there, Liron here, and today I'm going to show you how I painted this painting. What's up, Liron here. As I mentioned, today I'm going to show you how I did this painting. Now, to give you a bit of context, this is a painting process I did a long time ago, I think about 6 months or so. And so I was running out of battery. I didn't make it in time to record an intro. I did manage to record an outro. So the outro is going to be on location, but now I'm giving you an intro that was shot way after. Now, to give you a bit more context, hopefully I have improved since doing this painting, and so I can recognize again a lot of things that I could have done differently, a lot of mistakes that were repeating mistakes in my approach. So I'm going to comment on that, but also show you the really good side, I think, of this one. Really enjoyed making it for you. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and let's jump into the process. Okay, so I'm starting out with the drawing process as always, and I'm very proud actually of how the drawing turned out. I think very well detailed, very well executed, just the way I wanted it to. And that happens sometimes when you get a painting that the drawing was pitch perfect, and then when you move on to the painting, the vision gets skewed a little, or you don't know exactly how to convey that initial thing you had. And this is a bit of what happened, but not necessarily. Now, you see me constantly measure. And this is the key to my success here with this drawing process. I'm measuring in front of my reference and trying to find each and every relation that I can rely on. Now, you'll have to excuse me because to forgive me for not recording this process perfectly, there are a few parts that were cut out, a few major parts actually. So hopefully what you will see, what you will be able to see, will be enough for you to get the gist of it. So I think it's very interesting seeing also the comparison with the reference. The way this street opens from the main boulevard is what attracted me to this scene originally, and it was so beautiful, and the buildings are so not typical of Tel Aviv. It kind of reminded me of Italy in many places with all the beautiful flower pots and the different details on the windows. As you can see, a lot of movement in the street in front of me. What you're seeing now is double speed, okay, and there's a lot of movement in addition to that, so it was a bit of a challenge to stay focused. I was on the main boulevard. There's tons of people walking behind me. You can't see them though. And also this car stopped right in front of what I was drawing, which is actually the cars down under the buildings. But still, I was able to ignore that and even rely on the picture I took before starting with the process. So that worked out fine. There's this foliage and then two cars. The foliage, it's kind of a fence. I don't know what you'd call this, like a garden fence, garden wall, I guess, a wall made of bushes and stuff like that. And then there's the car in front of that. And there is another car to the right that's going to be very dark. This car I'm drawing right now is going to be the center of attention. And as you can see, very few details. Not a lot necessary here to get started. The shadow is going to cast to the right with all of the scene. The key here for me was getting the opening between the buildings to look good. So you can see it's just barely the angle, it's very angular, and you can see just a bit of the walls in between the buildings. So that was the trick for me. What I'm drawing now is a building in the foreground that you can see also, I think in the reference, that is closer to me and is much darker, and that will create the separation of making it look closer to us. Today, I won't tackle this scene the same way because these kinds of buildings, like the one on the left, the role they play is problematic to me. It's just a big block of dark color to the left, and the compositional value that it has is inferior to other options I could have applied here. So in any case, I would probably approach this a little differently today, but still it was a good experiment because I did another one like that, and then I figured, this is something I've been doing for a while, and it's not working, so I better stop. So yeah. So now the main shapes are in, the cars, even all of the details, and now I'm just adding a bit of information to the background so that there's actually something between the buildings. Because it's not just sky, it's important to understand. It's not just going to be sky all the way to the bottom. There are quite a few buildings in the background. Then we have all of the windows and the drain pipes and just a few details that will tell us that these are indeed buildings. So that's the main part here. I wish I would have been able to capture more of the initial wash and more of the shadowy wash, but I couldn't do anything about it. I was being a bit irresponsible then. I would record a lot outside and I wouldn't have enough battery on my iPhone. So for example, today I recorded a process. Today meaning like maybe a week before you see this video, or maybe, oh, sorry, I'm actually going to post this one today. So actually today I painted outside, and the process turned out really well, and I was responsible, and I've had a lot of battery on my phone and got everything perfectly. And for the past few processes as well, I was able to capture everything. So it's just me improving with my production, outdoors production abilities. Back then it was a bit of a mess, but I learned a lot from that valuable experience. So now everything is pretty much really tightened up and ready for painting. I have all the details I need. I'm going to use, the paper I'm using is Saunders Waterford. I'm going to use my usual brushes, which is, here we go, we're starting with the painting process. The silver black velvet for this one, a bit of toilet paper on the left so that I can dab and clean and everything. I'm using again phthalo blue. I believe it's going to be quinacridone rose, and Hansa yellow medium. I think that's the yellow I'm going to use. Got rid of that piece of paper. Now I would have done again things very differently today, but the initial wash I'm pretty happy with. Probably should have darkened the sky a little more, but you'll see it works out nicely. So in any case, going all the way down to covering the things that are in the background. I don't really care about those. Then going onto the walls of the building. So this one is going to be quite yellow. Both of these are going to be a little yellow. And then the roof's going to have a touch of the right one is going to be yellow. The left one is going to be red. The rooftop, I felt like the shingles need to have a strong color to them. So I added quite a lot of paint there. And when you work with such a wet wash, you have to put a lot of paint in, thick paint, if you want to make an impact. So in any case, this is where the video got cut off, unfortunately, but here you can see the final result of the initial wash. Okay, very pleased with the foreground, especially in the car. You can pause the video, rewind if you want to see more of the details, but very pleased with it. And now we're off to the races with the second wash. And this is where you indicate the mid values. You could indicate the dark shadows as well. Now, one of the there was a fly or something on the painting. One of the things I learned, my major insight from back then is, first off, I'm doing negative painting around that stupid wall on the left. No need to. I could just cover it from the left to the bottom. So that's one thing that I shouldn't have done. Now, another thing is this is way too dark, and back then I wouldn't be able to really tell. I had good color variation in the shadows, so now I'm adding a bit of red to it just to create some interest, and that worked out fine, but it's just a little too dark. The middle values, I used to really darken them and exaggerate them accidentally, but now I realize if I would have done this today, I would come back with a completely wet wash, just water, and put the water into what I already have here and just dab it all the way to the bottom. And that would have worked out nicely. But in any case, you can still see the result. I think it still turned out decently well. I do have a good indication of the light and shadow. The one thing I would say in regards to this part of the process is the light on the wall on the right. I should have found a way to preserve it because it works really well to show the three-dimensionality and the three-dimensional shape of the building, and I kind of messed it up, in which you will see in just a moment how I'm covering it all up. I'm gonna get rid of it, and that's it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but in any case, that's fine. Now, an important concept that you'll see in just a moment. First, I'm trying to get some of that wet in wet, so I'm putting in the shadows. Now, because I already put such a dark wash, it's a bit hard to get the shadows in. You see, that's the thing. And the water flows less, so in any case. Now, I'm using the green foliage here as a stopping point, which is a really good trick. When you're getting into a wash that's lighter or very dark, but you can do that in that case too, you can stop there and then continue with that as the continuation of the wash. And it works really well because sometimes you just need like these checkpoints where you can stop and regroup and figure out the next shapes you want to put in. And if I'd had to cover, and I was asked about this, should I cover everything? Now I'm trying to lift, funny enough. Should I cover everything in the second wash and everything in the third wash and blah, blah, blah. So no, of course you leave the highlights, but then again, you don't have to connect all washes. I like to connect them whenever possible, but I won't be too obsessed about it and I won't be scared to paint in patches. So work on that building, work on the building on the right, work on the trees and bushes at the bottom, work on the car. You see, so you have to know how to split your efforts in order to get a good result ultimately and not burn yourself out. And, you know, there's only so much you can be aware of. So yeah, that's important. I added a bit of shadow under the rooftop, but again, because I went so dark immediately, I didn't have enough of a value range to work with darkening this. And let me know if this idea is clear to you. I'm really curious because it is an important, I think, thing to notice. So now I'm working with lots of yellow and blue, creating this green on the fly. I'm adding a bit of yellow here, a bit of blue there, and the main important part here, I guess, is to paint very carefully around the car. Now, the wash of the wall of the building is still wet, so I don't mind them touching a bit. It's not going to bleed in too awkwardly, but I do leave gaps here and there for the highlights of the top part of the foliage, okay, which is there. I exaggerated it a bit. It wasn't that extreme, but in any case. So now I'm continuing with this foliage, and again, cutting around the shape of the car. Should have worked with a much drier, much wetter, wash that will flow a little better and glaze. Worst case, you know, the trade-off of going way too dark in the beginning is that, let's say you need to get a middle and dark value. Then you go very dark, but the trade-off is the water flows less, so it's a bit harder to control. You see what I mean? So that's a major problem sometimes. Now the part on the right is starting to dry, and I have to be aware of that and continue working on it because I'm trying to merge it with the car. You see what I mean? And by the way, the moment I'll add the windshield, you're going to see how beautiful of a shape this one will develop. So in any case, you don't want to make it too hard on yourself and merge each and every possible wash, because then you won't be able to monitor everything. And watercolor really is about monitoring your work, noticing where the wash is starting to get dry and being aware of the level of wetness and the edges and everything. So you want to make it as easy as possible on yourself. So in any case, yeah. Now this part is getting a little darker because it's facing away from the sunlight. This is a part I wasn't really able to get that well, but and we're actually close to the final result. To at least to the extent of the video that I was able to capture, because I lost some of the footage and I didn't have the battery. So hopefully the car on the left pops already. Now I'm going to add a bit of a darker wash to the car on the right and connect it with the foreground. Hopefully it'll connect well. I also have the details on the building on the right, which I really like, so I'm a bit disappointed that I didn't get that on film. By the way, the process I recorded today is, I think, really, really good. It's really fast, really loose, but I got the gist of it and it just works really well. I think you'll enjoy it. So now it's close to the foreground. I like to exploit the paper's texture a bit and work with quick swishes of the brush, especially if I don't have a lot of time. And you'll see this in just a moment with the very closest part of the foreground. I like to have some sunlight showing through the specks of light showing through, and this is very easily achieved using the paper's texture. Here you see where there's a few empty spots. I leave them untouched. Some of them I do go over. And in any case, here is the final result. I hope you enjoyed this process. Let's wrap it up. Okay, friends, lucky. I literally have 1%, so I'm going to show you the final result. Okay, check it out. I'm done here. Really pleased with how this turned out. I think overall nice composition, interesting. The crop is nice. Just the way I decided to frame the scene, I think works really well. I will try and share also photos of the final result, just so that you can see a really finalized version without the weird light that there's here. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this process. And if you have, don't forget to subscribe, to follow me on Instagram, to my Patreon page. Check out the links in the description box below. Let me know in a comment what you thought of this video and this painting. And this is it. Take care. I will see you again in another vid real soon.